Let me keep the video on. So thank you so much for everyone's time. And it's on a Saturday. And I heard most of the people might be connecting from India. So good to see so many participants joining the call to understand and talk a little bit about leadership agility and the need of that in today's VUCA world. So that's the topic I'm going to talk about. I planned the discussion for around 60 minutes. So let me walk you through my thoughts around that, and also happy to take any questions at the end of the session. And during the conversation, if you have any doubt, feel free to put it in the chat window. Okay. So a quick thing about me. My name is Jerry Rajamoney, based out of Bangalore. I've been working as an Agile coach. It's more than almost 12 years been working as a coach, long back, yeah. And part of the Agile coaching journey, certain thing I explored myself, validated myself, and in that journey, I become a professional coach, and also ICAgile, not ICAgile, Scrum Alliance Certified Enterprise Coach. Currently, I am in the journey to be IAF, International Association for Facilitators, Certified Professional Facilitator Program, because I wanted to validate my experience as a facilitator. So that is the current journey I am in. And this year, sorry, my focus was around leadership coaching. That's a task I started. I wanted to try something in the beginning of the year. Luckily, with the COVID situation, I was fortunate to explore that a little more better. And some of the learning from that is what I'm going to present it with this audience. Okay. So let's start with, okay, don't use the Menti. I did not create it. So let's start with a quick icebreaker. Can you please all use the chat window to put what is your current role? Are you working as a Scrum Master, or an Agile coach, or a manager, or a product owner, or a team member, or whatever your role? Please use the chat window so that let's see the audience, what type of audience we have today. We have project managers, Agile coach, Scrum Master, again, project manager, program manager, project manager, and Scrum Master, business analyst. Okay. Business analyst, aspiring to be a Scrum Master. Good, thank you so much. So we have a lot of people within the Agile community playing either one of the Agile role. So let me jump straight away into the topic discussion. Let's start with a quick discussion. I want to talk about the leadership, right? So what do you mean by the word leadership? Let's try to understand from a definition perspective. So the definition of leadership is the action of leading a group of people or an organization, the state or position of being a leader. So this is the two definition. When I Googled it to try to understand, I got it. The second one says very clearly, you achieve that because of the position you hold, But the first one never talks about a position, but it talks about leading a people. Leading a people, not necessary that it should be from a senior people. A team member can lead a set of team members. The Scrum Master can lead a set of Scrum teams. An Agile coach, I'm just using this name because most of the people come from that, playing that role. So leadership does not mean that it should be tied up to a CXO level or a middle management level. Leadership can be anywhere. That's what I just wanted to highlight as the first point. The second one, when you look at the Wikipedia, Wikipedia said in a more detailed way, which I liked it, leadership is both a research area and a practical skill encompassing the ability of an individual or an organization to lead or guide other individual teams or entire organization. Okay, so leadership is still a research area. That's the most important thing you need to understand. And the next one is something very surprising. US academic environments define leadership as a process of social influence. I made it bold, that word social influence, in which a person can enlist the aid and support of others in the accomplishment of a common task. So it's all finally, when I look at the Wikipedia, it kindly finally come to that bold word, social influence. And that's all about leadership. Leadership is all about influencing others to do the job you wanted to do without them thinking that they're doing it for you. That's the power of leadership. And that leadership is highly possible when you have a great social influencing characteristic. And that is the reason leadership is still a research area. Why I said this again is, unfortunately or fortunately, a lot of us, we have seen in the LinkedIn, most of us are in the LinkedIn, right? It's a professional networking area. You can see a lot of people add leadership, thought leader, leadership agent, or leadership something in their LinkedIn, what do you call it, tagline. Leadership is not that adding that to the tagline. It is about how you behave. It has nothing to do with you have to be in a C-level suit. It's at any level, but it's all about the social influence. That are some of the things you need to understand. And also, most importantly, when you talk about a leadership, it's a journey. It's not something you just achieve it by a 1 or 2 days program. In a 1 or 2 days program, definitely it gives you a great insight. It definitely gives you great areas to improve, a starting point, but it's a lifelong journey. So there are certain slides I have created and touch upon that again. So I'll go a little more deeper when we go there. But now, after understanding what is leadership, let's try to understand, hear from you. Again, no need to use the mentee. In your view, in your opinion, what are the leadership qualities you think are important for someone to be a leader? Again, feel free to use the chat window and write it down. Write down simple words. What are the qualities you think are very important for a leader? I'll keep quiet for 30 seconds. Feel free to key in your views in the chat window. I'll read it for others. Influence, empathy, lead by example, honest, humble, motivate, empower people, good listener, collaborative. It is the connect and understanding of person that makes a leader, empathetical, self-awareness, adaptable, someone who can see the vision and inspire others to move in that direction. Okay, so lots and lots, good coach, okay, gratitude, okay. If you really look at, okay, taking responsibility when failure comes and giving credit to teams when winning, staircase, I mean, a leader is supposed to help people to move up in the ladder. I mean, that's what you meant by that staircase. Okay, so thank you so much. It's very difficult to define leadership qualities because the next slide, I have put some of the qualities of a good leaders. And I have taken it because I need to give the credit. I have taken it from, this list is taken from Brian Tracy. So from the author Brian Tracy, he had mentioned this. These are some of the things he believed are best qualities of a leader. The leader should have a vision, a courage to achieve the vision, integrity, humility, strategic, focus, and cooperation. Okay, when we talk about the leadership level qualities, we don't go to very specific, we keep it at a high level. And it's very difficult to put all the qualities because if I ask you, I think there are around 30 people, 24 people here. All the 24 people will have 24% they can identify as a leader. And if you look at those people, they have their own unique style. And it's very difficult because leadership, if you go to a library or if you go to a bookstore, if you see the management shelf, and usually the management and the leadership are the shelves next to each other. And these two shelves usually have the maximum books because it's one of the highly explored, highly experimented areas, and it evolves. Leadership is an evolving area. The one I consider as a leader 50 years before, by reading the history, whatever he or she has done may not even applicable in today's context. Some of the strategies they have followed, some of the other things they have followed may not even applicable, may not even work in today because of the change in the environment. Right? Simple example, if you are old enough like me, if you look at 30 years back, how the political parties and their leaders, they're also leaders in a good way or bad way. You may or may not like a particular party, but there is a leader, right? They have some strategy to win the election and they use some strategy 35 years before. What strategy they followed, if they try to follow the same today, it does not work. What went wrong? Is the leadership strategy went wrong? It may not be the leadership strategy went wrong. The strategy is applied in a wrong situation. The environment changed. And that is something very important. A lot of time what we have seen, and this is why one of the reason I took this year as my learning to deep dive into this area is a lot of time the leaders, when they work so hard and achieve a position, struck that, they don't want to improve beyond that. So the agility in the leader is missing or it stopped because they think they achieved. They think now they are at a level they can lead others, but they want to be standing. That is something I wanted to highlight it. That is something I wanted to point out because when I want to talk about leadership, I want to talk about the leadership agility in today's context, the VUCA world, which means your leadership characteristics as a leader. All of you are leaders. You as a leader should have the agility in your leadership to adapt to the current situation. That is the most important thing. So when I look at from that perspective, how I bring that agility in the leadership. And most of us, again, we are all working in the software industry, in the corporate world, or maybe you may be an independent consultant, but work for a corporate, and the agile is the broader space you deal with. And obviously today we will talk a lot about business agility, right? And that's something, a hot selling cake, hot topic. So how it is important and so crucial to be an adaptive leader. The leadership style should be adaptive. So that's the reason I use the word leadership agility. We talk about people agility. I'm talking about leadership agility. How, as a leader, you have to be adaptive. And when I try to explore that a little more deeper, what I liked is when you start something, you need to have a structured way to deal with that. So when I try to look at from to in a structured way, I like the International Associate Consortium for Agile because they explain it in a three-step process. They said, develop self-agility. That's a personal agility. First, how you wanted to be agile yourself as a leader. When you're able to develop that, and when you're comfortable in that, then start the relationship or developing the agility relationship. If you have, sorry, I had a real bad cold. Sorry. So when you talk about the emotional intelligence from, you would have read emotional intelligence a lot, I assume. So the emotional intelligence framework, we have a self part and then the we part or the relationship part. So it's all about self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management. These are the four parts in an emotional intelligence we touch upon. And in the social awareness is where empathy comes into picture. The relationship management is where we talk about influencing, we talk about change agent, conflict and all of those things, right? So when I talk about that leadership, how you develop yourself and then to the relationship, and then finally all this put together, how do you lead it? So these are the three pillars or the three focus areas. I would like to say that when you wanted to talk about leadership agility as an individual, try to focus on this. And I'm not going to go deeper on all of that. We don't have that so much of time. But what I wanted to touch upon is the first one, because that's the most important thing. As an individual, how I will develop my self-leadership agility. Is there a way I can, is there some place can I start? That's what I wanted to touch upon. So how do you grow your agile leadership skill? First, have to be flexible, continuously deliver value. You as a leader also be as a coach, responsive to change, experimentation mindset, leader as a harmonizer. These are some of the skills help your leadership style to grow. I don't think I need to explain more about responsive to change. At least in the last 4 or 5 months, we have seen the whole world as change, took a big shift in the change, the way we used to be, and we are doing it, right? And it has got changed the way a lot of things were happening across globe. And that, but the question is, do you need a pandemic to trigger our transformation, to trigger our agility? It should not be the norm. Do you really need a pandemic to kickstart or push ourselves to be like that way? That is a question I would like all of you to think about it. Because that's one of the very important trigger point. My brother works for a US bank. He's there for many years, worked for a lot of data analytics and other team. So the recent study in the US, obviously a lot of things we take the US as a reference for, will depend a lot on business on their side, right? One of the studies shows this pandemic created a transformation effort of almost 7 years, 5 to 7 years. It's a very strange thing. We are in the pandemic for the 6 months, but the amount of effort, the amount of work has gone into the corporate world in terms of change, in terms of the transformation, in terms of the change in the organization policy, it would have taken 5 to 7 years of time if there is no pandemic. That is the amount of work that's done just because of the situation. I'm not saying which is great, but what you want to think about is, in a normal situation, if things, when the life is as is, bringing a change, being an adaptiveness is always a tough situation. Let's accept that. People don't want to change. People wanted to be a leader, but they think they are a leader, but they don't want to change. They always wanted other people to follow, but I, as a leader, don't want to follow anyone else. This is some of the mental models which kind of arrest our thoughts. So we don't look for another pandemic, but if you look at the positive side from a transformation, because most of us, you introduce yourself as a coach, manager and coach, scrum master, so you're all change agent. 7 years worth of work has happened in the 5 days, and that is the power of adaptiveness and the leadership skill and effectiveness. But that happened during this, because of the pandemic situation. What I wanted to emphasize is that should not be happen only during the pandemic. It should happen as a continuous effort. So one of the question is, there is a trigger required, right? May not be pandemic, but some life-changing need. That is from Prashant. Yes, I agree there is a trigger required, but the question is, do you always wait for an external stimulus, which is a trigger, or do you find yourself what you want to do? Not all the people will only get triggered by an external parameter. A lot of people try to figure out what next for me. What should I do next? What should I do next? What can I do next? Right? So that is something called self-motivated, and people get motivated by the external pressure. Both are good. As long as you are motivated by internal or external, as long as you are in motion, you are in moving, which is great. Right? So nothing wrong about that, Prashant. Leaders should be able to think proactively instead of reacting to the situation. That's a wonderful point, Anand. So that is something I wanted to show the data point, and this is the reactive versus the other one is what one of the things I wanted to touch upon. This is one of my this year learning. But the truth is 80% of the leaders fall under the reactive side. So that's a global data. I'll come to that part. Allow me another 2 or 3 slides. My point is, don't wait for a pandemic. Don't wait for an external stimuli to motivate me. What I want to achieve as a leader, or I'm not a leader yet, I'm in the journey to be a leader. What should I do? So how I develop me self as a leader. So that is what I wanted to focus and talk about a little more. In the next few slides. So when you talk about a developing self as a leader, what does that mean? There's one more chart. In change management, it is referred as a burning platform, right? Why do you need to be in a, my question is, why do you need to be in a burning platform to change? People can use a different jargon. Okay, let's not get carried away by the jargon. Let's try to make the term simple. Let's see what does that mean to me. Okay, let's see how I can be continuously improving. That is the focus, because I'm talking about you as an individual, how we can be a leader, how can we kickstart. I have pointed out some of the things as a 3 dimension, but I said I'm going to focus a little more on the 1 dimension, which is self. And what does that mean? So from all the discussion, leadership seems to be both extremely common and extremely rare. Which is a very strange, right? If you say everybody is a leader, everybody can be a leader, that should be common. We should not even talking about that. There should not be a shelf or a bookshelf if you go to any books in bookstore or online store. There should not be a book for leadership. But that is a one department or the section has the maximum books, which means it is rare. That's why so much of study is done on that part. If leadership was just common sense, it would be common. The fact that it is not common, despite all the activity to develop it, suggests that if shortcuts were possible, we would have all bought that package long ago and would now be enjoying the fruits of success. This is from Bob Anderson. He's the founder of the Leadership Circle, and he wrote a book, beautiful book called Mastering Leadership. If anyone in the webinar heard about Bob Anderson, or have you heard about Leadership Circle? Just put it in the chat window, yes or no, just for my understanding. So Bob Anderson spent more than 35 years in the leadership development program. Okay, no, that's okay. So let me give a little quick introduction. Bob Anderson spent more than 35 years, which is almost my age, not my age. I'm much older, most of 35 years of experience developing, and he's a founder of the Leadership Circle, which is considered to be one of the greatest platform or a self-assessment platform for a leader to embark a journey, right? So this is what his study outcome. So he said, and this is something I really liked about it, because what I liked is a lot of time people say, okay, you take this program, you are a leader. He said very clearly it is not that way, because if there are shortcuts available, everybody would have bought and we are all enjoying the result. Because it is not a shortcut, it is a hard effort by an individual to go through that. It is extremely rare, and also it is extremely common. So when we talk about an individual growth, because I'm focusing on individual, we're all talking about people as an individual, how I can be a leader, how I can be an adaptive leader in today's situation, then I need to start somewhere, right? And there are so many models. If you Google for leadership development plan, you get probably few thousand results. Some are very theoretical, some are very superficial. You can just hearing people talk about all of that, right? The qualities you can look at, people say be humble, which for me is a very, very superficial statement. Be empathetic. It's again a very superficial statement. Maybe you may not agree with me. I'm perfectly fine with that. But it does not really make any sense for me to go and tell a leader you have to be empathetic. At least, especially in an Asian cultural or in an Asian context. If you understand the cultural index, if you understand the power distance index, if you understand the Hofstede data side, the Hofstede study, and also if you read the emotional intelligence, because a lot of us, the Agile community, we are carried away so much by the terms, we are so much carried away by the jargons, and we just stick to those. Being empathetic. It's a very commonly spoken word. But what you also I wanted to understand is try to get a holistic picture. That is very important, especially as an individual, as a leader, when you're taking a leadership journey. It is not a shortcut. Let me make it again very clear. It is a long-term journey, but to make the journey to be more fruitful, you have to go beyond words, beyond everything, to see what does that mean to you as an individual. That is why you need to have a starting point, yes, and also you need to go deeper to see what does that mean in your belief, in your value system also. Okay, so for me as an individual to develop myself, how I can use some sort of a tool or technique, And I'm going to share my own personal experience because I have gone through this. That's the reason I wanted to share this with other people. The first and foremost thing is when you talk about a leadership development, it is very, very personal. It is not a thing for 100 people together. It is when you talk about a development of leadership as an individual, it is your self journey. It involves with working with your belief and your psyche. True leadership springs from an elevated state of being it. It requires a fundamental shift of mind and consciousness. Leadership development is a long term because systems do not change quickly, especially our system of thinking. If I have been conditioned to a certain way of thinking, that's what I just wanted to reflect it back to Anand, put it in the chat window, reactive. We are very reactive. A lot of the leaders are very reactive. The study shows 80% of the leaders fall under the reactive leadership style. How do you move from a reactive to the other side? That is a thing. So it's a developmental journey plan. Because when you talk about a leadership development as an individual, it also involves adult learning system. There are lots and lots of study around adult learning. Because our system do not change quickly because we used to a certain way of thinking. In another, I think 1 or 2 slides, we talk about your operating system. So I will explain a little more when we come to that part. But it is a very worthwhile effort to invest in this journey because why? Because there's a starting point, right? An organization cannot perform at a level higher than the consciousness of the leadership team. If your organization, take your own organization, if there are 100 leadership people, senior vice president, CEO, CFO, all together, all their collective consciousness, that is the maximum an organization can perform. So if you wanted to increase an organizational performance level to a next level, you have to improve the leadership team's collective consciousness level. And that is the beauty of leadership. And that's one reason lots and lots of organizations invest so much on the leadership program. Because when you look at from an organization perspective, so this is what I want to talk about that. 80% of the current, and this is a study by the Leadership Circle program, they have more than 100,000 leadership people profile. I'm talking about Fortune 100 companies, leadership people, all the C-level people who make decisions. And this is the data. Egocentric is again a leadership style, but it is more of do what I say. Very individualistic. 5% of the people are under that category. But what is interesting is 75% people fall under reactive leadership style. So in an average, 75 plus 5, you take 80% of the people. If you talk to 5 leadership people in your organization, 4 people are either reactive leaders or egocentric. Let's remove the egocentric. 4 people or 8 people out of 10 leaders are falling under the reactive. And reactive leadership style is not giving enough business performance. Now, when you talk about a leadership journey, leadership development, what it talks about is how do you as an individual, as a leader, move from a reactive side to the creative side. So we call them, we usually use the word reactive tendencies to the creative competencies. So the creative leaders, integral and initial, are the 20%. And these are the people created the breakthrough. These are the people are the highly influential, shown a huge business improvement. And people love to follow them wherever they go, but they are 1 in 5. And this is the current study, current data. What that means is, I as an individual can take a journey and be a creative leader, or I am going to work in my organization. When I'm working in my organization, I mostly work with reactive managers or reactive leaders, and how I can help them to be a creative leader. That is also something I can look at. That is some of the things you may have to look at, right? So when you talk about us, this is what I said. When you talk about an individual, because I'm talking from an individual journey, individual leadership journey, you need a framework, you need a model which help you. And if you look at the picture, this is the one, this is the leadership circle. This is what help you to understand and how you move from a reactive side to the creative side. And that's the one reason that program or this model was considered to be one of the most popular and the famous leadership program. A lot of corporates work with them for decades and help their leaders, middle managers to be a creative side, moving from the reactive side. Right? So one of the things is, what is this leaders in ICAgile, okay, or integral? These are the people, just to give an example, these are the people in the leaders, but they make decisions or they work for results which are beyond organization. These are the leaders who worked to bring a social change or a social revolution. So these are that kind of leaders. I'm talking about people who are like Nelson Mandela. Those are the people who are working not for a corporate, not for a business value, not for share price, but they are trying to bring a social change. There are so many people around the globe, many people who may not even know them. Those leaders, they never used computer probably. They may not even aware of any of this framework model, but those are the people at that integral level or initiative level. I'm not telling you need to work at that level. All I'm talking about, again, I'm bringing all of us back to the agile, leadership agility. In that context, within a corporate, within an organization, how can I make my leadership team move from a reactive to the creative? Because that's one of the need of the hour. If you look at the, so again, just to give a little more detail, the leadership circle profile, there's a starting point where it helps you to understand your self-limiting reactive tendencies and leadership behaviors in today's complex world, how this can be balanced is what the first chart of the result it shows. Because the second point, the bullet point, is very important. The leadership circle is so unique that it reveals a leader's operating system. Operating system here is internal assumptions. Every individual, there are certain beliefs, and that belief is what translates to a behavior, and that clearly shows up in your reactive side and the creative side. So when I use the word operating system, let me clarify that a little bit. Let me take an example. I hope you all understand. Assume you're using a Windows operating system, your laptop or a desktop, but you're using Windows, because I'm not used to Apple, so I can't give more detail. When I first started using Windows, it was Windows 95, 20 years before. Then that time we used to have a Windows NT network in the companies. That's what we used to have. Then we used to have Windows 2000. Then we moved to Windows 7, 8, and now most of us are Windows 10. So what does that mean is, today I use lots and lots of applications. I develop quite a few applications on top of this operating system. 20 years before I used to have a RAM of 512 MB. Now my RAM is 4 or 8 GB, 4 GB RAM, right? The operating system, if you look at today, is equipped enough to take care of a lot of complex problems. Many years before, we don't even have a Wi-Fi, right? Windows 95 does not have Wi-Fi. We need to plug in the router. Today, all the laptops come with a Wi-Fi. You just connect wireless Wi-Fi, right? What does that mean is the operating system is built, equipped to take care of a lot of problems and the challenges. The operating system is built or it evolved to manage complexity. Now replace that operating system with a leader or you as an individual. You as an individual or in your organization, the leadership people, or they are equipped or they are built to cater to solve today's complex problem. Because the leadership team been there for last 25 years and they still think in the same old way because that is what their belief system is. They never changed, but the whole surrounding is become VUCA. So the external surrounding becomes so much changed that these individuals are not equipped to balance or manage that complexity. And that is what this word operating system. So replace the leadership with you as an individual. Did my operating system is equipped to face today's VUCA world and today's complex problem? Am I skilled enough? What is my belief system? What is my thinking? Am I struck? Did I try to solve today's problem with my past thinking? How am I going to build my operating system to the next level? Remember, right? And this is a very interesting thing. If you're married with a kid, you can relate it. I have a son who is 11 years old. When I started browsing in 98, first time when I started browsing, you have to be in Bangalore, you have to pay 100 rupees for 1 hour. It's a 64 kbps. So you type yahoo.com, that's a powerful, most popular mail. It takes 35 seconds to load the page. It will be keep quiet happily and then page loader will enter and then slowly the speed increases. Today, the broadband is enough, it loads faster. But my son, when he was born 10 years before in Bangalore, then the internet was almost popular that he used to play a lot of online game. When he goes to my hometown, that the speed is very, very low, it still takes time. He becomes restless. He come and complain me internet is not working. Because the starting point for them or the new generation is at a different complex level. For me, it's a different reference point. So my question is, I understand, they don't understand. So do I equip myself to face today's reality? Or I stuck at that level? So these are all the things when you use the word operating system. So I as a leader, you as a leader, what is your operating system? How are you going to improve? Do you need an external pandemic to trigger that? Or do you want to keep that as a regular activity? So that is what the whole thing which I wanted to bring out in this slide. And this allows the leaders to see his or her inner world of thought translate into a productive or unproductive style of leadership. Because when my operating system is not equipped, then I may not be able to do a effective leadership style in today's VUCA world. Okay, just to show, when you talk about a leadership circle, this is how the result shows, because as I said, usually when you work with the leaders, they wanted very evident starting point. They wanted a very clearly outcome-based areas. They wanted to see, focus, and start working on that. So when you as an individual, you can be, for me as a university, okay, where should I start working on? What should I focus upon? people usually, that's the first question they ask. So when you're going to propose something to them, that should be tangible, that should be actionable, that should be executable. So this leadership circle profile is not a superficial, it gives a snapshot of assets. It exactly tells you where you are, and it also shows what are the areas you have improved, what are the things you can start working upon. And just to give few more points over that, one of the one of the branch head or a division head of Honda Motors for the South America, been with this leadership circle profile for 10 years journey. This is one of the case study. So 10 years of this leadership circle profile, the one you're seeing is not his. It changed over a period of time. I'm not going to go deeper of explaining this because that is not the intention of this program. The intention is to make you aware of the leadership and how important it is. But just to give it a quick level, the whole circle, if you look at here, it is broken down into 4 parts. The bottom one is we call reactive tendencies. The top is called creative competencies. The left-hand side is we call the relationship, and the right-hand side is we call the task. So this whole circle is, we can divide it into 4 parts. And so it gives a 360-degree holistic approach. The middle black dot is the identity. That is nothing but you, and it is your report. And you have been measured across this 5 creative competencies and 3 reactive tendencies. And what it beautifully explained that is, it's a 360-degree feedback. If you take the full-fledged report, you then it shows your self-ranking, which is this dark line. And then although the shading, what you're seeing is your peers, your managers, whomever you selected for the 360-degree review, how they rate you. So it clearly shows the blind spot. You thought you are great, but your team said you are not. You get that report, but it's a snapshot, right? But that is what it is. And it also shows how you balance your relationship. Are you a taskmaster, or you are balancing it out? So it gives a complete snapshot of picture. So when you get the report done for you, it clearly shows where and what should I start working upon. So that's the one thing I really like about this one, right? And as I said, there's some chat windows. Okay. So this is how the report shows. And what is the advantage what we get is, the other main important thing I liked about this is the report you are seeing, all this shading and everything is a percentile. What does that mean is your ranking is placed against a global leadership database, which has got more than 100,000 leadership profile. So if you scored 60 percentile, which means you are at the 60th position, right? So from the 1, you're at the 60th position, which means there are 60% you can still improve. And your profile is validated against a global workforce, which is a very important thing, especially as a leader, because a lot of time people wanted to see where I am across in terms of my certain things in a global workforce. And that's again a very great thing. So the whole report is based on the global percentile. And this is some of the advantages what we gain. Is there anything I missed out? And most importantly, this is some of the advantages. And the most important thing is the report just give you a snapshot. And most importantly, what happened, this is what I just want to highlight again, this discussion is, most of the time, it helps, especially as a leader, it helps you to validate your mental models. So mental models are referred to the deeply ingrained assumptions, beliefs, and stories we hold about ourselves and the world. And as an individual, you go and get more and more experienced, the mental models become more and more stronger. the binding is very stronger. And as an agile leader, you have to regularly practice to validate and challenge your own mental models. Because it's something like, oh, I think Windows 95 is amazing. Let me stick to that forever. Probably you may not able to do a lot of today related work using your operating system because the operating system is outdated. Right? If you work in the pharma companies, a lot of organizations, pharma companies, even today use the old operating system for some reason. They're stuck there. So now you're talking about a cloud movement, moving to cloud, right? Why? Because there are so many things can be done much faster when you move, but how many of the banks are able to move to cloud? It's a challenge because the leadership team find it not comfortable. They struck with their old mental model. So especially when you talk about the leadership journey, your leadership journey should be supported with the mental model to validate and challenge your own belief. And one of the things I just want to highlight to stop is when you talk about the mental model and validating your mental model, please refer Argyris Double or triple loop learning. This is a very simple model you can always use to validate because that's very important for you as a leader to take the journey because the whole context is around you as an individual and leadership journey. So you need continuous checkpoint. So what do you mean by double loop or a triple loop learning? From the image, if I wanted to explain, so this is again developed, the credit goes to Argyris. So this is called Argyris Double or triple loop learning. How do you explain that is, usually we get some result, we are seeing the results are not as expected, we start looking at, okay, we have to change this action because the results are not coming out properly. That is a single loop learning. Are you doing things right? Many people used to do that. Many people are very comfortable with that. But we want, especially in the leadership journey, go to the next level. Is the assumption is correct? Validating the assumption is the double loop learning. Are we doing the right things? Because assumption leads to action. Action gives the result. Is it easy to change the action, but it is very difficult to make or challenge my assumptions? Is my assumption in a example of an agile way, is my assumption of using agile transformation using Scrum is right or wrong? We always say the team is not delivering better. Okay, do this action. Team should deliver more story point. But assumption, do we validate? We don't. Many times we are not even allowed to challenge the assumptions. Maybe the decision was already made, so we cannot challenge that assumption. But that is very important. And triple loop learning is challenge the context because every assumption is based on a context. The context of Spotify evolved from Sweden in that cloud-based music application. So that is a context that evolved. But in a bank, applying the Spotify, probably a completely out of sync context. So validating that context, challenging it. How do you decide what is right? Do you want to go for a Spotify model? In this context, does that make sense? That is also very important. That is triple loop learning. Because in a context, we make assumptions. For the assumptions, we define some action, and then the action leads to a certain result. Majority of the time in our organizational context, we validate always the action and we try to tweak the action. We never challenge assumptions or the context. As a leader, I request all of you, validate the assumptions whenever possible, validate the context whenever possible. Maybe in an organizational environment, I'm not empowered to make that stuff because this already the decision is made at a higher level, perfectly fine. But in my individual leadership journey, as a leader, as an individual, I started my leadership journey, and leadership circle is one of the way, as I said, to kickstart that in a very measurable way. But in that journey, use the double or triple loop learning to validate your assumptions. So try to do this validation all the time, because especially you have to challenge your mental models, and to break your mental models, you have to validate your assumptions all the time. So I don't want to just give you a context about the leadership agility and how you can develop on around that. I also wanted to little bit extend that with a mental model, because without touching upon the mental model and the double or triple loop learning, I don't find it's completely a holistic package I can offer. So that's what I wanted to cover, these two also. So just wanted to make a point, all the materials, slide, everything is taken from the leadership circle and also other things. So all the credit goes to all those hard work done by them. Okay, so that's the thing I have. Now I'm happy to take any question. So Jeff Boss made all his cost center to be revenue center. Yeah, that's a very good business model, because cost center means people think they're useless. That's a kind of a support function feeling. But when you take it as a revenue center, that brings a completely different thought process, which is a great move. Contact number, WhatsApp group, I don't know. Is there a link to generate this report? If you're asking about the leadership circle, if you go to the leadershipcircle.com website, you can do a self-assessment. But the self-assessment, the challenge is you don't get the team report, which is not free. You can do your own self-assessment. And also there is no one of the important thing about this reports are you need to have a debriefing session. That is also not available because it's a free report. So it gives a report, you can see, try to understand and interpret that in a way. What we used to do is, when I used to teach my leadership agility program. This is part of the program. So that we do the debriefing, because that's part of the program. That's the only difference when you're going to do it online as a free assessment. But you can still do that to understand where you are, which says a 124 question you have to answer. Any suggestion on how to manage if you challenge the decision of a leader and the leader is egoistic? Okay. So in the statement you made, the leader is egoistic. I don't know, is it a fact or it is your assumption? So if only you know better than, because you asked a question, so you may have someone to refer. If that person is egoistic, probably if that is the true, you have seen that quite a few times, then probably you have to approach in a more mindful way. What I mean by that is, maybe approach that with more data, show them these are the datas. Because of that, probably this is not the right thing. Maybe probably you have to do that and take it as a hypothesis and get permission to execute it. What I mean by that here is, in an organizational context, that particular leader is also the decision maker. Then you have to balance it out. How do you want to pass on the message? Because it's also a true fact. A lot of people don't want to hear them, oh, you are bad or whatever. How do you want to place that? For example, even here, when we look at here, this is creative competencies and this is a reactive tendency. So this is where the 80% of the leadership people score higher. What that means is, we are going to tell them you have to move from bottom layer to the top layer, reactive to the creative. But what we wanted to propose, what we propose is, because I have done this program, we call them as a gift. This is a problem, but using this a lot is an issue. What does that mean is the more, so we say like this, the bottom layer takes a lot of energy. So you spend a lot of energy to get something out of it, but in the top layer, it gives you energy. You don't spend energy, but you gain energy. So the bottom layer, again, we talk about, this is a gift, complying. For example, the left, this is a complying. Complying is one of the gift. But too much of compliance might restrict innovation. So as a leader, you try to comply everything. You don't want to break the rule. You want to be completely 100% compliance. Probably you're not letting your team to innovate, because usually compliance will not make the people to thought and break, because innovation happens when you allow them to fail, when you allow them to challenge, right? So complying is a gift, but over usage of a gift leads to penalty. Not the penalty is not the right word, which might be a problem. So in today's context, because we are facing a VUCA world, as a leader, how we are going to be adaptive in your leadership style? How are you going to address it? So we explain it, but we leave this thing back to them to make the decision. So that is, so because you asked the question, the leader, if it's egoistic, how to address it? Maybe you have to be a little bit careful about how you wanted to keep the message. Is there a training from Leadership Circle on using the framework? What is the cost? And the Leadership Circle program is, yeah, it almost costs 2.3 lakhs, 2.3, yeah, 4,500 US dollar. That's a cost. And it is to be a 4 days online program. It starts, when I did it, it was morning 4:30. It was Australia timing. That's the cost of this program. Any other question on how the leadership journey, how I can be, and why and how it is important in today's context?
Jerry, is there somewhere this has been tested, say, whatever this loop, triple loop? Is there any organization which has used this?
The double loop, triple loop, I'm not sure any organization used this and published anything out of it. But I think most of the okay, as a leader, I recommend, a lot of people, I don't think people are aware of this. How many of the Agile coaches are aware of Argyris Double or triple loop learning? Right? And I don't know a lot of leaders also even aware of this. So there are two parts to this, right? Especially this training, leadership training, I see that as two parts. One is I want to be a leader, so I enroll for this. The other thing is, no, I'm good with what I am, but I want to help my leaders because I'm working as an Agile coach, I'm working as a change agent, or I'm working as a Scrum Master. For me, all of them are change agent. And the whole title is what industry gives me. So how can I support my leader? That's also very important to me, right? I'm working as a ODC, Agile coach for Offshore Development Center. So I work with leaders. So in that capacity, when leadership is a big term, leadership is a widespread spectrum. So within that capacity, as a middle management level, there's a capacity. As a top leader, they have capacity. How can I support them? How can I help them to understand these concepts? And maybe the next discussion, maybe the next retrospective meeting, can I introduce this and ask them to look at in a different way? Maybe because we are not validating our assumptions, we are not getting the result. But my manager not even aware. So can I introduce this tool to him or her? I like to see that from that perspective. And that is the reason I took the journey in the leadership circle. That's the reason I teach ICAgile leadership program. And I built all of that together because You can't be everywhere. You have to help other people so that they help others, right? So it's like a cascading effort. So use from that perspective. See, you were maybe now with a Q2 over Q3 starting. I'm talking from an Indian calendar, right? Or in the US, it's Q4. Most of the organization get into a year-end retrospective. Introduce the loop, triple loop, and see, shall we challenge our assumptions? And see what comes out of that. So that 2021 or Agile strategy, we can use some new actions. Give a try. I have seen this primarily used in coaching executives. It is important for enterprise level agile coach who needs to deal with coaching executives. Probably, I'm not sure about that because I'm not a big fan of calling enterprise agile coaches, and scrum masters. I think we are kind of so sticking to this label, and I'm not very big fan of this labeling stuff. There's nothing called enterprise agile coaches for me. It's a coaching, an agile coach. Because one of the bigger problem I see in the last few years in the agile industry is this enterprise agile coaches and agile coaches. People work at different level. Agile coach, Scrum Master, or you work at the team level. Agile coaches, you work at good team of teams. Or we have an enterprise Agile coach who work with the C level. This is for me a waterfall. This is how it used to be a requirement somebody does somewhere, development somebody does somewhere, then testing somebody does somewhere else. Now we are replacing that with 3 level of people, 3 coaches working at 3 level. I think that's the first thing we need to start breaking. That's the first thing we need to start challenging. Yes, I appreciate you are experienced, you have a lot of knowledge. So you are skilled. Again, I usually use the word operating system. You as an individual enabled your operating system so that you can deal with that complexity of working with senior leadership team, CXC people. Maybe there's another set of people who are, their operating system is not upgraded enough to deal with that kind of a complexity. But that does not mean that you can work only at this level. It's a skill upgradation. People will learn over a period of time. So, but the challenge is in the industry, it's getting into complete bifurcation. Oh, you are only working at this level. You're only working at this level. So the same hierarchy is getting created in the agile context, which is not helping the coaches to be adaptive. Where is the agility in the coaches, right? So, as an agile coach, try to improve those, try to upgrade your operating system, try to improve that over a period of time. Because for me, all of these people are change agent. That's the reason I said when I started this training, I said all of the people are leaders in their own capacity, in their own journey. What's the global organization provide the certification? The leadership circle, if you're asking about that, that is by Bob Anderson leadership circle. That's a different organization. They provide different certificate. And the one I talked about later, that is because I am used to teach ICAgile training. There are certain things within the ICAgile we do add that. Any other question? So let me stop here. Feel free to connect with me. My name is Jerry Rajamoney. You can search in the LinkedIn. If you're not connected, I'm happy to connect. And if you have any specific question about any of this, to go more deeper about some of this, feel free to get back to me. And I'm based out of Bangalore, but I'm currently working from home because of the situation. So definitely I will help whatever I could do so that you gain whatever the knowledge from your perspective.